Hey everyone, welcome back to Author Journey. This is CJ Anaya here, and I am getting ready to answer one of my most favorite questions ever. Actually, they're all my favorite questions. Basically, like the habits of successful writers. I wrote down 6. There's actually quite a few, probably 10, 15, 20 if you really want to get down to it and figure out every single thing that you need to do. But I've listed some that I think are the most important just for people starting out. Anybody who struggles with the idea of writing their first book, a lot of times they get caught up and held back in the logistics of it. And they don't necessarily know how to organize or plan, or maybe they don't have a great idea. But I think just mindset is really important. Getting into the right mindset and knowing that you don't have to be perfect right away. So let's get right into it. I've got the 6 habits of successful writers here. So the first one I think is to read, and to read quite a bit. So it might seem wrong to spend a lot of time reading when you really want to spend a ton of time writing, but you really need to have a frame of reference. And I always encourage authors to read at least 10 books in the genre that they're interested in writing, especially if it's a genre that they love and they think they could write in, but they don't have a ton of experience with, because each genre is different and each genre has subgenres. So it's really important to know what tropes, what themes, what kind of things are really selling and doing well and catching fire in those particular genres. So you want to read as much as you can to get an idea of what it is you're writing. And I think it will spark ideas, because as you read, you can think to yourself, how could I write this better? Maybe I could write this scene better. It's a great way to push through writer's block too. So if you just read something and you think, oh, I bet I could write that scene better, not that you're trying to copy or even publish that scene, but just rewrite it and it'll get the juices flowing. So reading's great. Reading's a great way to form successful habits. Reading other books prevents your writing from becoming stale, okay? Because you get new ideas. You're not stuck in your own head constantly. It offers you an opportunity to study the tropes. I think we already talked about that, but conflict is really good too. And techniques. A lot of times I will find that a specific writer's voice really reaches to me across the page. And it's nice to get the feel of that voice and to kind of let it sink in and even maybe mimic it or copy it. And that's not to say that you can't adopt it or use your own personal voice, but sometimes there's a character that you have that you need to write and you just can't get the feel of it very well. And when you read other books, you're like, oh my gosh, that's that personality, that snappy, witty dialogue that you need. And if you can get into the mindset and almost become that character by reading other characters, it can really help you flesh out the one that you might be stumped on. So that's super helpful. Reading all forms of literature broadens your scope. So don't just read the genre that you write in, but read all sorts of books from various walks of life, because you're getting different authors' experiences and perspectives based on what they've been through, what they've seen, how their mind works. So if you've ever struggled to create like a chilling atmosphere filled with tension the way that Dean Koontz does, you should read his books and figure out how he's doing it. It's really interesting. If anyone has ever read The Husband by that man, it's so good, because it just starts out with this guy who's looking for his wife, and it just feels eerie and weird, and the atmosphere is chilling, even though there's not necessarily any danger like presented. Nothing's coming out attacking this guy, but it just feels weird. And so if you analyze and study the way that Dean has kind of imbued the scene and the environment and the setting with just his own form of creepy, which he's so good at. See how you can do that too. So reading his books, if you're writing in that genre, man, that's a great way to go. Read a lot of his books. Janet is really good to analyze comedic timing within the dialogue. She has some one-liners that are pretty darn good. So just any popular books written by some really great authors. is good for studying that and seeing how maybe you could mimic that voice or even adopt that for one of your characters. It's a great way to be inspired for sure. Number 2 is manage your time wisely. I know that seems to go without saying, but you wouldn't believe how difficult it is for people to just actually sit down and find the time to write. It's probably the first thing I hear when someone talks about wanting to write a book is that I don't have time. You definitely have time. You absolutely have time, even if you have to get up like at 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning and just write for 30 minutes or 15 minutes here or 15 minutes there. And I know that you need to get into the book and get into that groove of it. You know, sometimes it can take 20 minutes just to get into something. But instead of considering your writing as just like a fun hobby that you'll get around to, you need to take it seriously if you're really serious about writing the book, just the same way you would with a 9-to-5 job. So be your own unreasonable boss. Decide that this goal is important to you and set a specific time, okay? So you're going to pick a specific time of the day to write and decide the length of time that you can devote to your writing career, okay? Treat the time as very sacred with no distractions. I think that this is why writing in the mornings or the evenings, especially if you have kids, is super great, and especially if you have a day job, which most of us do. So writing early in the morning I find is really great. I actually like to exercise in the morning. I like to get up at about 5:30. I work out for 30 minutes. Try to lose all of that, you know, that chocolate that I ate the night before. It's a real problem, I'll tell you. So work out because it helps kind of get the blood flowing. And then I write for about an hour. And those early morning hours are really great because it's all quiet and you can really focus. Sometimes later at night, if you're a mom like me and your mind is just kind of frantically running and bouncing from various topic to topic, and you're thinking about your kids and everything that's happened that day, it's really hard to wind down and sit and just breathe and relax and get into the swing of things, although there are a lot of people who write at night because that works for them. Whatever works for you, just pick that time and be dedicated to it for at least a week. And if that's not working out, change it up and try another way, but devote time to that so that you really can get somewhere. Even 500 words, even writing 500 words is better than nothing at all, okay? Set a goal of words, how many words you plan on writing in one sitting. A lot of authors who have gotten into the habit of writing, they can make a goal of 2,000 words a day. Now, I'm not necessarily talking to the single moms out there or even the single dads or even, you know, people who are working full-time jobs, going to school full-time. 2,000 words can be difficult if you are not feeling inspired, if you're sitting there and you just feel like it is painful to pull that out. So 2,000 words may be a little difficult. There are days when I can whip that out like that, like in an hour, and it's not a problem. There are other days when I can barely get through 600 words because it just feels so painful. You just never know what's going to happen. But if you can try to make a goal of anywhere between 500 to 2,000 words every day, that's going to help you get that book written that much faster. And then once you hit the 2,000, just stop for the day. Or once you hit 500, stop for the day. However you want to do that. But I want to put into perspective really quick before I move on to the next one. If you were to write 2,000 words every day for a month, that you'd have 60,000 words, and that's considered almost a full-length novel. It's pretty close. Usually a young adult novel is 90,000 words. So, you know, imagine being able to write more than half of a young adult novel in just 1 month if you write 2,000 words a day. So if you do that for 2 months, you know, you've got 120,000 words. Probably not a young adult book that would be that big, but you could easily write a series very quickly, or at least, you know, a full-length adult book or several novellas very quickly if you can put that into perspective and just break it up instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I got to write a whole book. Break it up into bite-sized pieces where you're writing 2,000 words a day, and it's so much easier to accomplish. So plan what you're going to do ahead of time also. If you need to research a specific setting or a topic or a character, make a note of that in your manuscript. And always write a few sentences summing up what you're going to be working on next. So once I'm done writing, my segment or my 2,000 words, I'll think about what I need to work on next the next day, and I'll make some notes. I'll write a paragraph about the next scene that I want to work on, so that I get all of I don't necessarily flesh it out, but I write enough of a synopsis for that scene that I know where I'm going the next time. So when I sit down to write, I can get into it a little bit faster. That's kind of a very easy writer's hack that will help you get focused and stay focused. Inspiration can hit at different times, so make sure you jot everything down before you forget it, okay? So speaking of managing time wisely, you may be driving, although don't write when you're driving, okay? You may be driving and you may think of something really cool. Find a place to pull over, pull out a notebook, write it down. If you think of something, have a weird, funky dream, have a notebook and paper next to you. Wake up, write it down. Always have something with you that you can write down when an idea hits, because I guarantee you within an hour you're going to forget it. You will forget it, and then you'll be kicking yourself in the booty for it. So those are ways to manage your time wisely and to get the most out of your own creative thoughts, because the writer's brain is so crazy. We just bounce from one thing to the other. I know you feel me on that. And so your brain can go, in 100 different directions. And once you've thought of something really cool, something else is going to distract you. So make sure you write that down for sure. Number 3, set goals, which is what we talked about with, the time frame and the word count. But decide when you want to finish the book. Give yourself a deadline. Determine that deadline according to the amount of time you can invest every day, okay? So 30 minutes to an hour, figure out about how many words you can write, and then based on that, multiply it and see when you could have this book written and done by, at least the first draft. The number of words you want to write every day, how many words are going to be in your manuscript. So young adults, 90,000. Adult books are about 100,000, especially for epic fantasies. If you're an epic fantasy guru and you really want to knock one out of the park, more power to you. That's going to be a long one and a good one. I like long fantasy books. The amount of time it will take for you to edit it. Find someone else to edit it and then do rewrites if needed. And of course you will need to, because editing is a super important part of the process. I want you to consider that once you've written the rough draft, it's going to be important for you to step away from it. I usually like to give it about a month. Maybe if 2 weeks is good enough for you and you're able to gain some clarity, that's fine too. But usually once you've written a rough draft, you want to put it away for a little bit, work on something else, go back to it a month later, and then you're looking at it with fresh eyes, and you can go over it and begin to edit it yourself, fix things that need to be fixed. And that should really be the first time that you start editing anything. And so do the best you can and catch whatever you can with it. And I'm going to be making another video about a very thorough editing process that I like to use for myself before I give it to an editor. I'll link it to this as soon as I've made it. But it's going to be really important that you go over it and get as much edited as you can. And then it's going to be even more important that you hire a super duper professional editor. Because when you're indie publishing, especially when you're indie publishing, you don't have a team of editors behind you. You don't have a publisher behind you. Nobody's checking your work. So you need to find someone who can do that for you, who knows their stuff. So make sure you get a team of editors, especially someone who can do the developmental editing, who can help with the plot and structure. Find someone who is going to be really good about line edits and punctuation and grammar. And then do those rewrites if needed, and be sure to send it out to beta readers and just see how it hits them. People who can review books, they'll be able to catch things too, little things that you and the editor have missed. So plan for that. Make sure that you set aside a good month for the editing process, and that will help you decide when you want to release your book. So that deadline is important. Don't kill yourself, and don't be frustrated with yourself if that deadline has to be pushed back just a little bit, because things happen, things come up. But it's a working deadline. Work towards it and then push it back a little bit if you need to. But for sure have that goal in mind, otherwise you're never going to get it done. 4 is set boundaries, and I know you're kind of like, what does that even mean? But the phrase starving artist shouldn't apply to any of us anymore. So in this digital day and age when online businesses are so successful, there's no reason for anyone to believe that they can't make money from their writing. Copywriting, okay, that's a super popular way to make a living is through copywriting. Just ask the people who find writing gigs on Upwork.com or a self-published author supplementing her husband's income. Yep, waves enthusiastically. So I've done both. I've been a freelance editor and writer doing gigs on Upwork.com. So if you're a writer, that's a great place to go to get jobs. And then I'm also making great money selling my books online. So that's exciting and great and wonderful. But I couldn't do that if I didn't set boundaries. Okay, so your family and friends are going to look at this idea of you making a living as a writing. Most I have found will. They need to get used to the idea that your writing is important to you. It's not a passing fancy. It's not a cool hobby. You really want to achieve something great with this talent that you have. So don't allow other people's plans, their preconceived notions, or ignorance prevent you from accomplishing your goals, okay? When someone asks you what you do, besides your day job, because, obviously right away, you're not going to be making money. That would be awesome, but you probably still need to hold on to that day job. So besides telling them what you do, you need to proudly state that you're an author, even if you haven't written anything yet. Get that mindset in, positive thinking, project that out there, and make it happen. Success is 80% mindset and 20% smart, diligent work ethic. So set those boundaries. Don't let people tear you down. Don't let them make you feel as if this idea of writing for a living is an impossibility, because it's not. There's so much work out there for copywriters, freelancers, editors, and even fiction writers like me. So you for sure can do this. Number 5 is finish. Oh, so many people will start a book and they won't finish it. And it's because they edit too much, or they get discouraged, or they're afraid. And there are so many things that I could talk about when it comes to that. But one thing that I have found that really trips people up is that they continue to they edit it too much. They don't finish because they keep changing things. So write a crappy rough draft. I know that the urge to go back and edit that first chapter over and over again is going to be overwhelming to you, but the goal is to lay the groundwork for your novel, no matter how terrible the first draft might be. I have had nights where I have written stuff and I've thought to myself, this is the crappiest crap of all the crafts that I've ever crapped, okay? It's just the worst thing I've ever written. But I write it, I get it out there, at least the ideas are there, and then the next morning, a lot of the time I'll go back and I'll think, oh, this really isn't so bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not as bad as I thought. And then I'll keep going, okay? So don't edit it, just keep going. Because if you keep editing it, it prevents you from moving on. It's the idea that you can't press forward until it's perfect, and that means that you never finish it, because a book is never going to be 100% perfect. I always look at a rough draft as rough writing perfected over time. So after you actually finish it, that's when you can start polishing it and perfecting it. So don't edit that manuscript until it's done and until you've put it away for about a month or so. Don't give in to the snows. I hate the snows. Okay, that's shiny new object syndrome. Don't begin a project only to move on and get overly enthusiastic about the next best thing. So you might start a book and then you get this idea for a great book, and that's awesome, and you should totally write that idea down and possibly even outline it, but that's as far as you should go, because you don't want to dabble in writing. You want to finish. You want to master what you're doing here. So you're going to be an author who finishes what you start. So make sure that even though you have great ideas, or even though there's a new project or something else going on, or maybe another way to make money online, just stick with what you've started with. Finish that book and then start in on the other ideas that you have. Ooh, there's a fly. Lovely. Okay. Join a writing group. That's the sixth one, and one of the really super duper important ones, because if you can surround yourself with like-minded people who are going in the same direction and have the same goals that you have, that's a community that can help support you during the down days. That's a community that can help get you through the days when you don't feel like writing, when you feel like maybe you can't make money from your writing, or maybe you can't get this plot figured out, or this scene figured out. You're going to have people looking at your work from a different angle, and they're really going to be able to help you polish and perfect what's already there. And they're like-minded people who understand your goals, your desires, and the insanity that is the brain of a writer. You're going to need a group of people that you can learn from. There's going to be a lot of people who know more than you. And it's so great to get critiques and to not be afraid of those critiques. Those critiques are really going to help you. So there's tons of benefits associated with a critique group. You can give your manuscript to those who will offer you honest, constructive criticism in the kindest way imaginable. It's usually a safe zone. If it's not, just kind of swallow it and move on. But there may always be someone who's a little too blunt, but for the most part, they're pretty nice. They're going to find issues with your book that you haven't been able to see due to that tunnel vision that we sometimes get after that first round of edits. Okay? And these writing groups are also going to have insider information on indie publishing, traditional publishing, writers' conferences, and conferences are so great because you get in a room full of crazy authors and you get to study different subjects on writing, different technical aspects of writing, kind of pick and choose what you want to do, and you're networking, and you can try to share each other's audiences if you've built audiences, but making friends and helping each other learn and grow is super important. The goal is to surround yourself with people who know more than you do and to throw your ego out the window. There is absolutely no room for that in the world of writing, contrary to popular opinion, okay? So we all try to help each other in the indie world. Some great groups to become a part of is the Romance Writers of America, the Alliance of Independent Authors, Mystery Writers of America, and the SFWA, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. So those are huge, broad groups that I'm throwing out there because they cover a broad spectrum of genres. There are a lot of other writing groups out there, so if you'll Google it and start looking for it, there are also some great support groups on Facebook. I think there's 20 books to 50K. That's a great group that I'm a part of. If you look up Nick Stevenson's groups, I think you have to pay money to join to be on his Facebook groups, but he's got a great group of people there that help build email lists and help with marketing, and there's a lot of support on there if you'll go looking for it on Facebook and just Google writing groups in general, and you can find people online to join and to network with. And that's going to help you quite a bit. So these are the 6 things that I recommend you do. These are the 6 things that I have found that every successful author is implementing in their life. And I hope that this was helpful to you. If you have other suggestions, for sure, put them down in the comments because we're all reading them. And we all want to know any other great ideas. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Let me know. If you found this video to be helpful, please like it, please share it, and make sure you subscribe because I'm always trying to help authors with any questions they have. I'm always trying to share what I've learned because I firmly believe that every author out there is important, every idea that they have is important, and everything that they want to write and share is super important. And there's so many readers out there. There's enough room for every book. So that's the goal, is to help you. Thanks again for listening. I super appreciate it. And we will see you all next time. Thanks for stopping by. Talk to you guys later.